welcome back, y'all. We just finished episode 3 of season 2 of Severance. Well, we watched it a couple days ago, but life happened, and we're just now talking about it.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
Yeah, it's been a minute. Episode 3 has a lot going on. It kind of, I don't know about you, Rob, but it kind of shocked the heck out of me. The stuff that happened in this episode, I thought would happen maybe towards the end of this season. So they really picked up the pace. So anybody that's feeling like, oh, it's just kind of slow right now. And I have seen a couple of people complaining about that. That's going to change. Hold out for episode 3 if you haven't watched the first 2, or if you have and you're like not feeling it. Just wait till episode 3 because everything popped off. And
yeah, they got into a lot. That I was not expecting to happen already.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It all seemed so rushed, but before we get too much deeper into that and our own specific opinions, I'm going to do a quick 3-minute spoken recap of the episode. Wish me luck. Yeah. So, episode 3 of Severance is titled Who is Alive? And we really go kind of deeper into the mystery surrounding Lumen. So the episode begins with Mark struggling to process the revelation that his supposedly deceased wife, Gemma, is actually alive and working at Lumen as Miss Casey. So he's determined to uncover the truth. So he seeks help from Dr. Ringabi. Hopefully I'm pronouncing her name.
Almost, it's Ringabi.
Dr. Ringabi. Yeah. So she was a former severance surgeon at Lumen. So she was one of the people doing the severance procedure. They decide that they're going to reintegrate Mark with his Audi, or with his Innie, to really merge the two of them together. However, this kind of only leads to more chaos, as it kind of seems like as he's going into as they're combining, I don't know, there seems to be some weird thing going on where Mark is it's Mark, but it's past Mark. It was like Mark in his outfit when they were at the diner. I don't know if you caught that. Oh, yeah. Yeah, going in with it almost looked like it was maybe foreshadowing of his first day at Severance.
Could have been.
I'm wondering if maybe they're going to go directly into not episode 1, but what Mark's first day of Severance would have looked like.
That would be cool, because I would like to see that.
Yeah, it would be super cool. And also, in that episode for Dylan, he's introduced to a woman who is his Audi wife, Gretchen. But instead of kind of bringing clarity, the encounter only really deepens his doubt about his Audi's life, and it kind of makes him question the foundation of his existence a little bit. One of the things he asks is, am I kind of he doesn't say deadbeat, but...
An F up.
Yeah, am I an F up on the outside? And she kind of has a response that makes me believe that she kind of perceives him to be that way on the outside. Irving, on the other hand, he teams up with Felicia, who is someone that worked with Bert, right? It's not Burke.
Yeah,
Bert
right.
works with Bert to analyze some of the artwork that he's made from his Audi's life. So their investigation leads them to a hidden area within Lumen known as the Exports Hall, where they stumble upon these kind of disturbing evidence about the company's deeper operations. Meanwhile, Innie Mark, because we previously talked about Audi Mark, Innie Mark and Helly are continuing their pursuit of answers to where Miss Casey might be. We kind of get this awkward moment of them in the hallway where it seems like he wants to kiss her maybe, and then she's visibly uncomfortable, and it's kind of furthering my theory that that's Helena and not Helly. In other words, Audi Helly, not Innie Helly. And then, in one of the most bizarre moments of the episode, they discovered the Mammalion's Nurturable department, and it's kind of like this half office, half field somewhere in Ireland. And it's kind of it's just like a surreal room filled with goats, and it's tended by a Lumen employee that's played by, I want to call her Brianna Tarth, but I know that's not her real name.
Right.
And they walk into the room and she immediately is like, "Are you here to kill me?" Which also gave me a flashback to, I think it was season 1, when Bert first, I can't remember if he sees Mark or who, but he also asks, "Are you here to kill me?" I'm like, what is going on? Why is there seems to be a lot of distrust between the different departments at Lumen, right? Again, this is super weird. So it kind of just leads to like this tense climax where they ask if they recognize Miss Casey, and we kind of learn that she also knows Miss Casey from the wellness center, essentially. They also, I don't know, the whole encounter is weird. There's this man in a dark goat cloak. Like, I don't know if he's pretending to be one of the goats, but all of these people that are in this room end up kind of surrounding Helly and Mark and are very tense and like wanting to know why they're there. And eventually, before they let them leave, they ask if they can see their belly buttons or like their belly area.
Just their bellies, yeah.
And one of the guys asks to see their bellies, and then Brienne of Tarth, I'm just going to call her that because what is her name?
It's all right. I was calling that other girl Maybe, so it's fine.
Yeah. The woman that seems to be like maybe the head person in charge of the Mammalians Nurture Build department says, hey, look, there's no pouches. And they're all like, oh, okay, interesting. Which
that dates back to season 1.
It does?
Yeah.
Wait, when does that get said in season 1?
Yeah, because they were talking about how I don't remember who says it exactly. I want to say it was Bert who said that they thought that the people in MDR had pouches. Right.
I want to understand that. I'm like, the only mammal that has a pouch that I know of. Well, I think otters might, but I immediately think of kangaroos, right?
Right. Well, I think it was like I wonder if that was like a thing that Lumen did to breed mistrust, or maybe since the innies are always down there and they don't ever get to leave, they've like these myths have started.
Right.
And then it just kind of break. You know how when you're in high school or when you're in grade school or whatever, you've got like everybody's got these little myths about the school or a certain teacher or a kid died over here and there's this ghost that hangs out, blah, blah, blah. That stuff just perpetuates over forever.
Right.
And then it changes over time. So you never know. It could have been like they're wearing fanny packs back 100 years ago. And then now it's like it ended up through the game of telephone changing to where it's like now they have pouches and they're mutants or whatever.
Right. Exactly, but essentially, in all, it's this super tense, weird interaction where it's like the people in that department don't even recognize whether they're human or not, or whether they're a threat to their safety. Right. But they end up asking them that question. Mark is able to kind of bond with the goat woman a little bit by telling him, what would you do, hey, if one of your goats went missing? This is how we feel about this woman that worked in the wellness center for us. And she tells them that, hey, yes, we do remember her. As far as we know, she was retired, just as the rest of the departments seem to have been told. So we don't really get any answers. Super weird room. Super confusing still. I have no idea what's going on with the goats. But
I have some fun facts about that room whenever we get to it in the episode.
Yeah. But I mean, it's like, where do you want to begin? Because there's so much going on in this episode. I don't even.
Well, I always like to go from the beginning to the end.
Yeah.
Because that just makes the most sense.
But yeah, we do open with Harmony, and she's in this place. I think it's called like Salt's Neck.
Salt Neck, yeah.
Yeah, it's not a real town. I looked it up. And she has like something that looks like a gas mask sitting on the opposite, like the passenger seat of her car.
Yeah, that's like it's a breathing tube that was from season 1.
Yeah.
And it was in her little shrine that she had. And it says, there's a name on it that says Charlotte Cobell.
Right. Yeah. Which is that her mother? Who is that supposed to be?
I believe it's her mother, yes.
Oh, okay.
I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. I didn't know what to get from that. I'm like, did she go out here to end her life? Like, I don't know. Because it was called Salt's Neck, it felt ominous to me. Like,
right. Well, I've been listening to the podcast. As soon as each episode is done, Ben Stiller and Adam Scott drop an episode of the podcast, like immediately after the episode's over. So they were saying something about she was going to head that way, and I think it had something to do with her mom or whoever Charlotte is.
Right.
Could be her. Like, we don't know.
Right.
If Lumen has a thing where your body keeps like regenerating or whatever.
Right.
But I think it had something to do with her, her mom or her whoever that was. Yeah. And then she decided to turn around and head back to town.
Right. Where she eventually, this is later in the episode, so I don't know if we want to go there, but it's almost easier to go through each character's chronological thing because it jumps around so much. It's impossible to remember what happened when. But we eventually see her meeting up with Helena, so Helly's Audi, as she's leaving the office for the day. And she comes up to her and is like, I'm, considering your offer, but I'm only going to accept it on the basis that I am head of the, like, severed floor.
Right.
Essentially.
Yeah, she said Milkshake not ready. Milkshake.
He's
not.
Yeah.
He's not ready, and she's like, I'll only come back if this is the way that it happens.
Right. Under these specific circumstances, and Helena's just kind of like, oh, you cocky little girl, basically. I can't remember what she says. But it doesn't seem like she's going to get her way, but I guess she decides that she'll get in touch with the board or see if the board is available to discuss it. And she seems comfortable with that at first. She like starts to follow her into Lumen. Or were they getting in a car to go somewhere, actually? Because
they were getting into Helena's limo.
Yes, Helena's limo with this bodyguard that.
Right, and then Cobell saw the bodyguard
and she kind of just like
maybe
backs off and is like,
maybe I don't,
just kind of like skitters away. Which for some reason, the second she started following her, I was like, I feel like this is sus, and she's not gonna end up going with her.
Right.
So she didn't end up going with her, and she basically like fast walk awkwardly to her car and leaves.
Right.
And that's really, I think that those are really the only two occasions that we see Selvig this episode, correct?
Right.
Yeah.
Cobelvig,
that's right. So confusing.
Right.
And then we go over to Mark, and we can start with Mark's innie, because I think we get more with Mark's innie first. Right. They end up they're exploring around the building, right? And they end up finding this little kind of tunnel in the wall that they decide to go through. But there was hay and like dirty feet prints.
And poop.
Yeah, so like it was a good indicator that the goats are close. So, and then they see this little, what almost looks like a passageway for the goats to go through.
The poop was in that little passageway.
Yes. So they scanter their way through there, and then that's when they come across Gwendolyn Christie's character, Goat Woman. And she has does she have a syringe or a knife when she first walks up?
That's a good question. Yeah. I don't know what she had. I didn't look close enough, so I'm not really sure. Maybe it was that bell.
The bell? Oh, yeah, that she uses to call everybody.
Like,
they're also goats. I want to know why there's all these people, like, hiding within the hills dressed in goat costumes that aren't even necessarily good goat costumes.
Well, I think they take care of the goats, and then they are maybe dressed as goats to, like, maybe make them
to make the goats feel more comfortable. Look, I'm just like a big,
they look like us.
Extra large-sized goat man. Like, nothing to be afraid of. I'm just like you. Yeah, maybe. I didn't think about that. But she's dressed normal. And I think a few other people were dressed normal, right?
They're dressed in like work clothes, like they're
like
dirty,
they work on a farm. Yes.
Yeah. They're rugged, like they take care of the farm and the goats. So check this out. So I was listening to the podcast, right?
Yeah.
And they said that the way that they did this shot, I was like, yeah, they built this set of hills and stuff inside their little soundstage. They did not.
Oh.
This was shot outside.
Oh.
Yeah. They found a golf course in, like, I want to say Brooklyn or New Jersey.
Yeah.
I think it was New Jersey. And they built this on the golf course around these hills. So they're literally outside.
The office lighting?
Well, here's what they did. So they built a tent.
Okay.
And then I want to say they I can't guarantee that they put the ceiling on it, but they said they built like 15 feet of wall, and then the rest of it is CG, like it's not real. But they did surround it with a tent, so that's how they were able to block out the sun to where it wasn't like beating down on them.
Gotcha.
And if they didn't do the ceiling for real, like with the drop ceiling and stuff, then the sun would have hit that tent and gotten really diffused, and it would have looked like it was that type of lighting. But I thought that was incredible. They found a golf course with the hills on it.
Right.
And then they built the set around it.
And then built like a giant office cubicle around it,
Yeah, I thought that's the kind of stuff that I want to know when it comes to like the behind the scenes stuff.
Right.
How did you do it?
Cinematography
and
person.
If you listen to the podcast, like that's what Adam Scott does. Everybody else will go off on these tangents, and he's like, "Can you tell us how you did it?"
Right.
So he's always bringing them back to that. So that's really cool. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah,
cool.
So here's another fun fact: is on the episode of the podcast, they had Gwendolyn on there.
Oh, cool.
And she is obsessed with Severance.
Oh, really?
And she was.
Did she like campaign to be on the show?
Sort of. Yeah. She was upset that the first season went on and she wasn't on it.
Aww.
Yeah, and then when they brought the goats in, she loves goats.
Oh, really?
So the fact that
kismet.
Yeah, the fact that they actually asked her, because she wanted to be on it, and then they were too scared to ask her because they thought she was going to say no. So they finally did, and she was like, yes, I want to. And then they were like, you can be the goat woman. And she goes, oh my gosh, it's heaven. So
I wonder if we'll see her again.
Oh, I'm sure we will, because like, we still don't know what the goats are for yet.
Yeah, we don't. I did read a couple fan theories, and one of them is it's kind of like something we discussed before, the past founders are like living through the goats, so they have to breed more goats because the goats pass on and they put their consciousness into the new goats.
That's such a crazy thing to do
so
if they
weird.
are doing it.
It seems like it's like Get Out, but instead of using humans, they used goats. Like it's like, okay, interesting choice.
Yeah, it's such a crazy option.
Yeah, but maybe they thought it would be. I was going to say more humanitarian, but it's not very nice for the goats either, but people are more sympathetic to their humans than animals a lot of the time, so maybe, who knows? It's weird. But yeah, that whole scene is weird. The energy is so uncomfortable. Goat woman is like super hostile. The goat people are so weird, but of course they would be, their existence is living and pretending to be a goat.
Right. Well, I don't know if they're pretending to be a goat, but like they're just supposed to take care of these goats, and it's like, as an innie, you're like, what? This is all you do is you literally. I guess I don't know if they use the elevator too, but think about that. Like, we only ever see MDR using the elevator. Like, what time do these other people leave?
They're the only characters that we really follow, so I'm assuming everybody uses the elevator, maybe a different elevator to like a
that's a good point, but they have to be staggered, so that's just interesting.
They would have to be staggered. I don't know if it's by 5 minutes or however long it takes it took 2 minutes and something seconds for Mark when he was that's really what we see at the beginning of Audi Mark's journey through this episode, is he's trying to essentially burn the message who was alive into his retinas with this makeshift projector thing that he's been working with his sister Devin. And also one of the things that I also didn't get is he's under this quilt, but did that quilt not seem like it had a lot of holes in it so that the light would definitely be escaping? It
was an Afghan. I think it was mainly like just to like block out all the other light, or at least a good portion of the other light. He wasn't necessarily like, trying to hide it from anybody.
Right.
But also I think he was doing it as a test. Because like he was out by like a barn or something.
Yeah. I don't understand how Ragabi, I'm saying her name correctly, right?
Yeah.
Ragabi. I don't understand how Dr. Ragabi found him or knew he was there. Was that explained at all?
No, but I mean, does he still have PD's phone? Or maybe she can track his phone? Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know.
Or maybe he was just, I don't know where he was, but maybe he was where she
by some
hangs
barn.
out. Right, but like maybe, no, because she was out of school last time, wasn't she? Like,
I think so.
Some kind of school where she had equipment and stuff?
Yeah, I was shocked to see her there. I thought maybe he had gone to her house to almost get her attention, but I'm like, no, like, I don't know. But she was there, and she offers to perform severance on him. What she does before that is really more important. Yeah. She confirms the fact that his wife is alive, that Miss Casey's alive.
Right.
Or last time she saw her, she was alive. Presumably she's talking about seeing her at Lumen. And she's like, do you want to maybe, re-enter? And he's like, yes. He doesn't have to think twice about it. He wants to see his wife.
Yeah, it made him sick, too.
Sorry, go ahead.
thinking about like the fact that his wife is alive and all that stuff made him sick, and he ran out of the car.
Yeah. He does run out of the car.
Yeah, almost threw up and then came back and
the fact
because he was adamantly against it.
Right.
That was not a pun. Adamantly. Yeah, he was adamantly against it, and then all of a sudden, now that he knows his wife's alive, he's like, "Yeah, just do it.
Right.
I want to do it."
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to seeing reintegrated Mark.
Me too. Yeah.
But I did not expect it to happen this soon.
I'm kind of concerned because I'm worried that he's going to be like flashing, like he's going to be in this permanent state where he's like Petey was. Right. He's going. Suddenly he's in the office, suddenly he's out of the office, and like the lines of what he's experiencing become blurred, and he's just unable.
Ragabi did say she got better at it.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that happens towards the end of the episode for Audi Mark. So at one point in the episode, we see Dylan working diligently at his desk, and then Miss Huang comes and essentially just says, "Follow me." She's a woman of few words, or a child of few words. I don't know if I can call her a woman.
Why are you a child?
Yeah, why are you a child? Is it rude that I keep asking you why you're a child? Doesn't he say something like that?
So, like, is it rude to keep asking why you're a kid?
Yeah, that's it. As he's following her. Yeah.
Yes, as he's following her down the hall to the what is the name of the room?
The security room.
To the security room, which
it's like the room where he held the switches.
Right,
they've redone it.
They've renovated it to. It's now the room where you go to spend time with your Audi's family, or you get, I don't know, quality time with your Audi's loved ones. Which isn't any. I feel like it would only like sow like awkwardness for me. I mean, I would be like, okay,
well,
cool.
they all want it. They all want it. Like they all want to know what's going on in their lives.
Yeah,
but
they can't say like I love you back necessarily because they don't know that person.
Right. Yeah, because they don't know anything about that person.
But Dylan's brought into that room, and at first he's scared. But then he sees a woman sitting across the room, and it turns out it's his wife, Gretchen, his Audi's wife's Gretchen.
Right.
And they get 18 minutes of unlimited quality time.
So random.
Yes, I know. I was like, why these numbers are so weird in the show. But Miss Huang is listening overhead and makes sure that Gretchen doesn't say anything that could possibly, I don't know, tell Dylan any information about his Audi that could be inappropriate or lead to problems. They have a kind of awkward but sweet interaction. She's like, you really don't know me. And he's like, in disbelief, he's like, no, yeah, sorry. He asks her questions about himself. She mentions that he's never been able to hold down a job, or he's really struggled to hold down a job. So this is the first job, here at Lumen that he's been able to hold down. And he's like, really? Like,
it's so funny the way he responds, because he's like, he dumb?
Yeah, is he dumb? What does he say? He dumb? He
dumb?
Yeah, what else does he ask?
He's something else, and then he's like, and then she's like, no, he's just kind of, I don't remember, something about like,
he never really found his thing, is what she says.
And then he's like, oh, he's an F up.
Oh, so he's kind of an F up, and I can't.
But it's kind of
how she's like, no, and that almost like patronizing way that's like, oh yeah, he's an F up.
Right. Yeah, it's a little sad too, because if you go back to season 1, Dylan was like, yeah, my Audi definitely does muscle shows.
yeah. Okay, Dylan. Like, come on now. Come on.
Right. Well, I mean, it's just sad that he finally learned the truth, and his Audi's like really just doesn't try.
And it's interesting that they're so different, right? It's like the Audi's, he's been beat down by the world and the impact that it's had on him, but any Dylan's kind of like Dylan if he wasn't affected by like the world around him. So it's he's
so he's
more
sweet
hopeful.
and lovable, and so I'm curious about that whole setup, because why did Lumen have to bring in his real wife? Like, because they could have brought in anybody. It didn't have to be his wife, because he wouldn't know.
Yeah. And at first my thought was that could probably isn't, because why would they do that until. We get a snippet later of Audi Dylan at home. He's like eating potato chips on the couch with his 3 kids around.
And he wasn't bothered enough to make the cookies.
I know, right? She's like, oh, they're in a tube. All you have to do is slice them and put them in the oven.
So I was listening to the podcast, and they were talking about this scene, and they said that if you think about it,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if this is how it was written, but this is what Adam Scott and Ben Stiller said.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, they were like, whenever Gretchen gave any Dylan a hug,
Mm-hmm.
she was kind of like she had a spark in her eye.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And then when
I
you see her at home, she's like doing all the work, and she's just like fed up with him. So it's almost as if like Dylan is the other guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
and I definitely think it'd be interesting if that kind of
if they
like
flesh that
developed,
out,
where she's maybe starting to fall for any Dylan, the better version of him, and then now creates this weird conflict. Is it cheating if you're technically the same person?
Right. Yeah, and actually, you and I had this discussion a while ago. Mm-hmm. About that on the episode.
Mm-hmm.
But also, like, I wonder the reason that they brought in his actual wife. I'm wondering if maybe they were trying to mess with her.
Yeah.
Like, because they know I'm sure they know that their relationship is strained at home.
Right. Like, look how successful he is here. Isn't this nice for him?
Right. He's got all the finger traps and all the caricatures.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that is an interesting juxtaposition, because he's like so successful and driven as an innie.
Yes, yeah.
But his Audi couldn't be bothered.
Yeah, he's like the most successful of the MDR people, or at least he's the one that got the waffle party, and he wants it. He's like he's driven. Yes, he's extremely driven. Whereas it seems like Audi Dylan is not. And it seems like he works days, so she works nights. And it looks like she's wearing almost like a TSA or like a security guard uniform. So I'll be interested to see if we get to see more of Gretchen's POV in a future episode.
Right.
I recognize that actress. I've seen her in lots of stuff. Namely,
I saw her in
Jackie.
something. I couldn't remember what she was in, but I do remember seeing her.
Yes. So I was excited to see her. But yeah, so we get that interaction. I don't know if we're going to see more of them. Hopefully we do. I'm curious about Gretchen now because I care, because I'm like, I feel like a lot of women, maybe even fantasize about the version of that their partner used to be, like if you've been in a relationship for years, you have kids, and people change after time as they get married and they live through different experiences. So I'll be interested to see what happens with that. Another main thing that I definitely want to talk about is Milchek, which I totally missed in my 3-minute recap.
Right.
He is, so he kind of arrives at work, and Natalie is waiting in his office, and she's going to relay a message from the board to, give him props for his performance. And as a token of gratitude, he's giving a gallery of paintings depicting himself as Keir Egan. So it's basically Keir Egan, but they've made his skin color black. His features still look European. He has like weirdly kind of scary blue eyes.
Yeah.
And offers it to him, and his reaction is about as awkward and uncomfortable as mine would be.
It's about what you expect, though.
Yeah, it'd be super weird. It would be super weird to see herself as, like, what did they do for, because Natalie mentions that she also got these paintings at one point too. I'm like, so how did they make him a biracial woman? Like, or at least like I don't know how they would have done that. Did they just keep the mustache? I don't know. But it's
I feel so bad for Natalie, though.
You what?
Natalie, I feel bad for her because she's like, she looks like she's in pain every time. Yeah. She's like, because she's got that strained smile. Yeah. And she just looks like she just it's like, it's almost like she's a hostage who has to do this.
It seems like that could be the case. She's also the only person that I feel like we've seen like speak to the board directly. Right. We never actually hear their voices, so I don't know how direct it actually
like a crackling static.
Right. So Milchek gets those paintings. He has a very justified, uncomfortable reaction to them. And at the end of the episode, he even ends up, like, kind of stuffing them away because he doesn't want to see them, which I wouldn't want to see them either. That's super weird and a really weird way to express gratitude for good performance.
Would you expect anything less from Lumen?
Not at all, but it's like, gosh, they're so tone deaf. Like, come on now.
Screw you, Lumen.
Yeah, it's bizarre. Poor Milchek. I'm actually, like, I'm curious about him.
It's Milkshake.
Yeah, Milkshake. I'm curious about more about him too, just because he finally showed a bit of like a human reaction in this episode. I feel like we got to actually see like a little bit of something outside of his like stellar work personality, like him being uncomfortable and like we've seen him frustrated, but not necessarily at Lumen. So I hope we see more of Milchek and his real feelings in future episodes. Irving, I don't want to miss Irving. So he arrives at O&D and he finds Felicia, and they reminisce over their memories with Bert. And then while looking through Irving's drawings of Bert, Felicia accidentally sees that sketch of the dark hallway. And she tells Irving that it resembles the exports hall where the past O&D employees would take the products they made. I don't know, that conversation is... I don't understand why Irving didn't want her to know about those paintings. Like, I thought he was going to... He wanted to have that conversation with her to show her those specifically.
Right.
So, yeah, it seems like, I don't know, they're going to potentially find the exports hall, go down there together, or maybe Irving's going to go by himself.
So is that what it's called?
Yes.
Or is that just what O&D calls it?
That's what O&D calls it. That's what she called it.
Because, like, isn't that the hallway that leads to the elevator that goes down to the testing floor?
Yes, I believe so.
So, and because that's what that's where Cobell in season 1 sent Miss Casey.
Right. So it could be potentially where, I mean, Miss Casey was last seen. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. She could just be, for all we know, in like some kind of cell down there,
or just powered down.
yeah, exactly. Because we don't even know if she's a human, right? If her physical body is gone, then maybe she's just like a clone of Miss Casey, not Miss Casey, of Gemma's DNA. Which seems like cruel and unusual punishment for Mark to have them have to interact then at work. That's just super strange.
I honestly, I think they're studying something having to do with that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then whatever he's doing with the Cold Harbor file is apparently a big deal because I'm pretty sure Cobell mentions it specifically.
Right.
Whenever she's talking to Helena.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, so that, I don't know what the whole deal is with why they're so obsessed with Mark and Gemma. I don't get it.
Right, yeah. It's super strange. Yeah. And I'm still kind of on my theory that Miss Wong could be some kind of like child clone of the two of them potentially. Like
that would be such an interesting plot twist and turn. I'm here for it, but like, because
it doesn't really make sense with the timeline though, because supposedly Gemma's only been gone for a few years, right? So and they never had children, but their ages would be appropriate for them if they had at some point. I don't know, maybe they had a child that was taken, or maybe they did in vitro and they took her egg and they told her it wasn't going to work, and then they grew a test tube baby. Like there's so much that could go on. Very scary to think about.
It could be just a clone of both of their DNAs.
Right. And they, like, I don't know when they would have done that, but who knows?
Right.
Another major thing, though, is we do see Natalie's Audi, it seems like Natalie doesn't really have an Audi. Like, they're the same. She's not severed, is what I'm trying to say.
Same as Cobell and Milchek, I think.
Yes. So Natalie doesn't appear to be severed, but she goes to visit Rickon and discuss adapting his little self-help book, the UUR for Innies.
For Innies, yeah.
Yeah, for Innies specifically, whatever that means. They've already read the original copy. So
yeah, they're talking about just changing the verbiage a little bit.
The verbiage to be, because she tells them that Devin asks, what they would change. I think Devin is home. And she says there's just like a different type of, a better language that the Innies respond more positively to.
Yeah.
I would definitely be like pressing for more info on what she meant by that exactly. But Natalie is her typical creepy self with her like really weird like fake beauty pageant smile and like very inconsistent blinky. I don't know if you saw this, but I don't know if this is true or not. I think I saw it on Reddit, but they have released the UUR, like an actual book.
I saw a book trailer for it.
Book
on
trailer,
YouTube.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe that's what I saw a reference to. So that would be interesting. I would definitely want to check it out if someone actually, it wouldn't surprise me if somebody that was just a super fan went ahead and like tried to write it and post it somewhere or sell it.
Speaking of that stuff on the podcast, they were talking about how much they love superfan cuts of stuff. Because like somebody went in and cut together the timeline between what happens with Mark in the office little thing where he's talking to the speaker, him and Irving, and her out in that conference room.
Wow.
They cut them together to where you can watch them at the same time.
Oh, that's so cool. People are so. That's awesome. Like,
I thought that was interesting.
No, that's cool. If it's on YouTube, I'll check it out. It's available.
I'll send you a link.
Cool. But essentially, going back to the end, where we see Mark, Ragabi performs the integration procedure, or reintegration, I think is what she calls it, procedure on Mark, so he can.
I don't know why I completely forgot that they actually did it.
Yeah, they actually do it.
For some reason, my brain ends the episode when he's like, let's do it, and that big old teardrop falls out of his eye.
Well, that's when I would have thought the episode ended. That's why it surprised the heck out of me that we go into the procedure. She's asking him a couple of questions, like, what month is it? Stuff he's able to easily answer, and then we start seeing the lines being blurred where he's showing up in the conference room like he would have the first time he was severed. Right. The same way we see Helly in episode 1 of season 1. So.
Well, he's actually laying on his back though. I don't know if that means anything, but.
Yeah, she was laying stomach down. Now that I think about it, yeah. So who knows? And he's laying stomach down when he's getting the procedure done. I'm surprised we didn't get any like brain shots or anything. I don't know how, like, if she goes through the ear or what the process was, but we didn't get to see any of like the technical surgical things that were going on. That I'm.
You know what? Yeah. Speaking of that, I'm full of like the behind the scenes facts, so I hope this is fun for everybody watching this. But they talked about that scene whenever Helly got her implant done, and the guy who did the procedure, he was an actual surgeon. Oh. Like he wasn't just an actor, he was an actual surgeon who made sure that everything they did was like legit.
Oh, I love when people do that, because nothing, especially somebody like my mom, ticks off people more than like, it's like when you're watching Grey's Anatomy and they're doing a heart procedure and they're like, that's not even a heart. Like, what is that?
It's a handful of gummy bears.
Yeah, it's like sometimes like the silliest stuff.
And then his nurse was actually the on-set nurse.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's cool. What a cool thing to share with your family, too. Like, oh, by the way, I was on this TV show. Yeah.
Yeah, and they were talking about season 1, and this is just like a quick little thing. They're talking about season 1, and they said that they were shooting it during the pandemic, so everybody had to wear masks.
Right.
And they said after they had like the wrap party and stuff like that, and the Christmas party, and that was the first time that they saw people without their masks on, and they were like, I did not expect you to look like that. Wow. That's like a nice little throwback to 4 years ago whenever we were all doing that. My God,
it's crazy to think that it was shot that long ago.
Yeah.
For 5 years.
And well, they started, I think Dan Erickson came up with the idea in like 2015.
Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was like 11 years ago, or 9 years ago.
Yeah. Gotcha.
So that's crazy.
But other major things, what's your prediction for what's going to happen next episode? Like, I'm interested to see whose POVs you think we're going to be getting.
Well, I think we're obviously we're gonna follow Mark for a little bit.
Yeah, I think we might not. Honestly, I think they might make us wait.
Well, he's gonna be in recovery.
Actually, because this Innie and Outie are coming together, I don't think they can afford to do that. I think we are gonna have to see some kind of.
Yeah, because he's gonna be like we're gonna see some crossover, and it's gonna be like a bunch of weird stuff like that. I think Cobell's gonna, and this may just be off the wall, but I think Cobell is gonna like have some kind of like, I'm getting in there regardless. I'm gonna get in there and I'm gonna take over MDR.
Yeah. She's gonna find some dirt on somebody and somehow.
Yeah, she's gonna wage a war on Lumen,
or maybe Milchek was so offended that he's just gonna leave his position. Maybe there'll be another event where he's just like, you know what, I don't want to do this. Actually, you people don't actually get me or care about me. You want me to blend into Kier Egan, and that's right. Yeah, and I can't imagine most people would be okay with that.
Yeah. So there's that, and then Helena's got some stuff up her sleeve. Here's what I'm curious about. there has to be some time in the next, in the rest of the series or in this season where she finds out that Mark is reintegrated.
Yeah.
Because do they still believe that reintegration is impossible?
I have no idea.
Because they have Petey's chip, so I wonder if they know, like if they were able to break it down and if they know.
Surely they would have, like, if they knew enough, Ragabi would not be alive and walking the earth, I don't think.
Right. Well, she did just straight up murder Grainer.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, she hit him in the head with a bat.
Yeah. Oh, God.
She did not, like, there was no, like, warning or anything. She just took him out.
Yeah. Yeah. I would love to see some from her point of view. Also, Gretchen. I'm, like, very curious about Gretchen now. No,
I think we're going to see a little bit more of Gretchen. Like, we have to see more of her, because, we have to see more of her and Dylan outside, and then how that affects Dylan and on the inside. And I feel like she's going to come and visit him more often.
Yeah.
And Dylan G is going to be the side piece.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And he liked her, Annie Dylan, and he's, like, excited, attracted to her. He's going to be on his best behavior so we can see her again as soon as possible.
Well, I'm pretty sure he did, because when he found out that she was his wife, wasn't he like, whoa?
I mean, he seemed happy. I can't remember if he made an audible whoa sound, but he seemed excited. But, and he seemed to be smiling, like, when he was leaving the room. So I think he's going to go to Irving and be all bashful and excited. And he's going to excel and see her again. And, I predict that's just too interesting of a storyline for them not to explore. So I definitely see that happening. I see that. I see Mark's new reintegrated persona. It's going to be weird not having Innie and Outie Mark and them just being one. Like, I don't know. That's going to be interesting. And I hope we see more of Kobelvig. Is that where you're saying?
Kobelvig, yep.
Kobelvig and what's going on with her. Was she afraid of that security guard in particular? Did she just get a bad feeling like I had? Because, like, I mean, I feel like anytime, like, a supervillain invites you into a limo, you don't go. Like...
You're saying Helena's a supervillain?
I mean, she gives off the supervillain. Her name's Helena. She just gives off supervillain energy to me.
And it's... I know this isn't part of the predictions, but I just love the way that they've taken the juxtaposition of, like, some of the characters. Because, like, Helly is a rebel, and she's, like... she's sweet, but she's also like, I'm gonna figure this out. And then Helena is like just straight laced, and she's like, this is how it's gonna be done. I want it my way, and I'm gonna kick you out if you don't do it. Yeah. And then you got Dylan, who's like, I'm the best there is. I'm amazing. I'm the best there was. And you get out and you see outside Dylan, and he's like, I don't care about life. Yeah,
kind of unmotivated by life.
Yeah. And then Mark on the inside, he's like, I don't want to say he's generic, but he's like kind of an everyman on the inside. He's like, he's the most relatable one. And then on the outside, he's like kind of a jerk and kind of a down and depressed and like stuff like that. But on the inside, he's like, focus on all the effects of sleep. He's like trying to teach people how to, And then Irving, man, on the outside, I still think he's a spy. I'm just saying. But on the inside, he's like, hardcore, Lumen this, Lumen that. Lumen's the best, and I'm going to follow all their rules and Kier. And then on the outside, he's like, I'm going to do my research, and I'm going to spy on people and find out what's going on. Yeah. But now, Irving on the inside is like, let's burn this mother to the ground.
Right, yeah. I think they're the same people, but they're affected by their different world circumstances. Like, they're the same, but they're made different by the world that they're living in.
Right. That's the nature versus nurture kind of thing.
Exactly. Yeah. So, as usual, folks, try to enjoy each episode equally. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next week, and have a great week.
Yeah, hopefully we'll know the episode better than we did this time.
Yes.
Because we said I don't remember a lot of times.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, we'll see you guys.
All right, bye.
Okay, bye.